Okay, in this video, we got to talk about the number one big food lie. And it's really important because so many people are literally dying at the hands of big food. So in this video, I want to talk about this lie, and I want to talk about how you can move around it. What's the bypass for this lie? So here we go. Let's dive in. First thing I want you to know is that there's a concept out there that's being talked a lot about. Maybe you've heard it, maybe you haven't, and it's called big food. Big food is basically the machine that is making food. And this machine of companies that are making food are interested in one thing: profits. And many of the ways in which they're making food right now are hijacking your taste buds and are pouring chemicals into your system in a way that is not only causing you to gain weight, but is causing you to build chronic disease. It is, I think about this a lot. Like, we talk about like how horrible the pandemic was and how many lives were lost. And yes, like the lives lost was horrible and no disrespect. But there are lives every day being lost, more lives that are being lost to chronic disease, and it has to do with big food. So the biggest lie that we've got around big food is that all food is safe. It is not. When you walk into your grocery store, the food in your grocery store, there is a good chance that a large part of that is not safe. Every single health challenge you have, every single challenge dropping weight, every bit of depression and anxiety could be coming from these toxic chemicals that are being poured into food, and nobody is regulating these people. It is the biggest criminal act on the planet right now, and I'm upset about it. So here's what you need to know to be able to overturn this lie. The first thing you have to realize is when you walk into your supermarket, there's a good chance that there's a handful of food in there that is not safe. So what you can do is you can start to walk around the outside of the supermarket. So buy perishable food. So when we look at food from a shelf life perspective, what we do is a really good question to ask yourself is, if that food can stay on the shelf for months and months and months in the supermarket, it probably has chemicals in it that is making it do that, and those chemicals are going to kill you. And those chemicals have two major problems with them. One is something called an obesogen. I wrote all about obesogens in Eat Like a Girl. I have charts. I explain what they do. I'm going to give you a little snippet of what they do here. But the main thing they do is that they hijack your stem cells. And they tell your stem cells to make fat cells. So think about this for a moment. We have a culture right now that is talking about how we have obesity problem in children. Why do we have an obesity problem in children? Are these children all undisciplined? Are they just eating too much food, too many calories? No, the answer is no. What's happened is these obesogens have been poured into the food system. Pesticides are one of them. Monosodium glutamate is another one. Things like NutraSweet, another one. These chemicals, again, the list is in here. These chemicals, what they're doing is that they are being put in your food, and then when the mother eats them, they go into the baby, and then the baby's stem cells are now reprogrammed to make fat cells. And it's the stem cells that were supposed to make bone cells actually start to make fat cells. And then we look at our kids and we're like, oh my God, my 5-year-old's overweight. My 10-year-old's overweight. And now we start looking at giving them Ozempic. This is completely wrong. So we've got to understand that chemicals in our food are making us overweight, and they fall under the category of obesogens. You can go and Google search right now and find a long list of obesogens. You're also putting obesogens on your skin, they're on your kitchenware, they're everywhere. So we want to get obesogens out. The other thing that these chemicals in our food are doing is that they are disrupting our hormones. So what's happening is we're ending up with too much estrogen in many cases. It's called estrogen dominance. And the body doesn't know what to do with estrogen dominance, so it stores all this extra synthetic estrogen in fat tissue. And so it's storing it, and this is why, again, we have such an obesity problem. This is why breast cancer rates and a lot of fat in our breasts. This is all where the body is storing these toxic chemicals that are in our food. It's criminal. So we have to look at weight loss differently. We have to look at the foods we choose differently, and we have to look at ourselves differently, because we start, especially as women, we start beating ourselves up saying that it's our problem that we've gained weight, but we don't realize that we walked into the grocery store thinking everything was safe. I always tell this story that I used to, my clinic was built around helping people build healthy lifestyles, and a lot of the patients I worked with were patients who had been given a cancer diagnosis. And one patient in particular, her name was Lanny. When I started to explain the concept I just explained to you, to her, I actually literally took her to a grocery store, and I was showing her how to read a label and what she could do to help create a life that stopped building cancer. And she looked at me and she was like, "Are you telling me that the food in here, every food in here is not safe, and the name of the store is Safeway?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. And it's what I'm telling you. It's like we have to stop looking at all food as safe. Some food is safe and it will build health, and other food is poison and it will build disease." I did a whole Diary of the CEO podcast on this. I'll put that link there. You can go watch it. So let's realize the damage that the food industry is doing to us. The other thing I just want to say is they create food that hijacks our taste buds and all of a sudden makes us addicted to it. It's a great profit model. So if you're a business person, that makes sense. But if you're trying to keep somebody healthy, it makes no sense. Okay, so what can we start to do knowing this? And here's how let me just break it down, make it really easy for you. So first is let's start looking at the shelf life of a product. How long is the shelf life gonna last? Like if if you put a piece of fruit out on your shelf, on your countertop, or even in your refrigerator, it's gonna last a couple days and then it's gonna rot. Yeah, because it's a real food. So if it has a long shelf life, read the ingredients, understand what chemicals are in there, because many of the chemicals in there are extending the shelf life, which leads me to my second thing. Second thing is learn to read an ingredient label. It's not hard. It's complicated, but you can make it simple. And here's how you make it simple. Just pick up anything and read those ingredients, and then ask yourself, do I know what these are? Can I respond to this? I did this for years with my nephew. He would always come to me say, "Is this food safe? Is this food healthy?" And I'd always say, "Read me the ingredients." And when he would get to the third or fourth ingredient and he couldn't read it, he couldn't pronounce it, I'd say, "Go look it up." And when he started looking it up, this is a great thing to do. If you're any teachers out there, if there's any parents that want to show their kids, have them literally read out loud to you an ingredient label. And if they can't read a word, send them to the computer and have them Google it, and then see what it says. Because you will find that there are many, many of these chemicals that are allowed in food. In America, they fall under the category of GRAS, generally recognized as safe. You can put a little bit of a chemical in that is generally recognized as safe. We have an innocent until proven guilty philosophy around food and ingredients. So look at the shelf life. Ask if it has a shelf life. Second one is look at the ingredient list and learn to read it and say, is there real food in it? Okay, third one, and this is really, really important, and this goes for any food. This even goes for the healthy foods, which is how do you feel afterwards? You have made the right food decision. You have put the right category of foods together if you are not hungry for a very long time. If you're hungry within an hour, you're hungry within 2 hours after you ate, there's a good chance that there were chemicals in there that hijacked your taste buds or stimulated your blood sugar, so your blood sugar has now crashed, or has made you, a lot of times some of these chemicals are what we call excitotoxins, and has made you really agitated, and many of us use food to soothe ourselves. So if you eat a meal and and the other one is if you're sleepy. So if you eat a meal, you're tired afterwards, you're hungry a couple hours later, you're agitated, and that keeps happening. You got to go back to food again. You can't stop thinking about that food, like that potato chip that they've sprayed chemicals on to make you dopamine addicted to the potato chip, and you can't just eat one. You got to go back and eat it over and over and over again. There is a good chance that you are eating these foods that are filled with toxins. I got another book for you. It's called Eat Like a Girl. You will now know for your feminine body how to metabolically switch. I hope it helps. So one thing you can do, and this is what we do in my family, is try to get foods without labels. Fruits and vegetables don't have labels. If you eat meat, meat doesn't have labels. So let's try to go to foods that don't have labels. Now, other things you can do is build a fasting lifestyle. I think this is why a fasting lifestyle is working so well, and why we've sold over 700,000 books of Fast Like a Girl, is because so many of you, and I read your reviews, I read your comments, and so many of you have told me, I've never been able to lose weight before. Put it in the comments if that was you. And I don't know why. I just took all my food, I compressed it into an eating window, I left longer for fasting, and now I dropped weight. Yeah, because you gave your body a longer chance to really heal and repair itself and take a break from all these chemicals that are being poured into our food system. It's the only equalizer I know right now, because our metabolic health is worse after the pandemic. I know here in America, our metabolic health was like only 12% of Americans were metabolically healthy, and then after the pandemic, it shot down, to 8%. And so when we fast, we're taking a break from all of these toxins that are in our food system. We also know that there's some incredible stories, like research like that Sachin Panda has done, one of the premier fasting researchers, that shows that if you just compress all this toxic food into one short eating window, by short I mean 8 to 10 hour eating window, that you become metabolically immune from the damage these toxic chemicals are causing you. So here I sit, having taught fasting to the world for over a decade, having put books and books and out, and videos and videos and videos out, and I'm more convinced today of a fasting lifestyle than ever before because of these chemicals in our food system. So, you have control of this. And I always say, your health crisis may not be your fault. Your weight problem may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility. And knowing these chemicals is massively important, and coming up with a strategy to undo the harm they've created in your life is also incredibly important. So I'd love a conversation on this in the comments. So let me know, is this new to you? I'd love to know if this is new to you. That would be important. And did you notice that fasting changed your food preferences? And also let me know how much weight you lost fasting, because that always gets me excited. So as always, don't give up on yourself. You're a miracle. The food industry doesn't want you to know that. Big Pharma doesn't want you to know that. But I'm here to tell you, you're living in a body that wants to heal and repair. Just trust it. You just got to understand it. And I hope videos like this does that. So as always, hope that helps. Okay, if you loved this video, you're going to want to check out the next video of my food series. 5 foods that will sabotage weight loss. And they're going to surprise you. These are ones that you're probably doing thinking they're helping you lose weight.